Welcome to the Great Distraction.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. This is The Great Distraction, and today the topic of discussion is online privacy. My name is Ben, and with me today are my co-hosts Thomas,
Hey.
Rick,
Hey, buddy.
and Glenn.
Howdy, folks.
If this is your first time listening, welcome. We thank you for joining us. The Great Distraction is a podcast that focuses on a vast and random range of topics, and we hope that each episode leaves you with, if nothing else, something to ponder. Online privacy today. Man, researching this topic was, wow, there is so much more out there than, we could make like 10 episodes off of this. So, bear with us as we gently and very delicately touch on very
private issues.
In a very
As
small
we delicately
amount.
touch on privates.
Nice. No, we're just going to keep some broad stuff and just some random ones that I kind of selected. And this is just too big of a broad of a topic to really delve into too deep on anything. But we found some stuff that you guys will probably find interesting. We certainly found it interesting. Right off the bat, we are the main question that we're going to kind of hit this angle at is how safe is our information on the internet? That's kind of what everything's going to branch off of, and we are going to try and keep this from being too much of a tinfoil hattish type mentality, because when I get towards some of these other sections down here, it's going to sound a little paranoid, but you know what? A little bit of paranoid in life is sometimes a good thing. And then I want to start off by saying, we're going to keep this simple here. Consider everything that you put on the internet accessible by anyone. There is no such thing as anything that you put on the internet that is actually truly private and truly safe. Someone is capable of accessing it. Many other people see it, even if they only work for the company that you're presenting the information to. But everything you put on the internet is accessible by many, many, many people, and potentially everyone, depending on what it is you're talking about. So first, I wanted to start off talking about something that is fairly new. And many people do not know about it. Most people have not heard about this yet. And I wanted to start this off making everyone aware that this is a thing now, and it is probably important, and it's something I think all of you should check out more information on. And that is the divulging of information that companies are now, not all of them, but many of them, and it depends on where you live too to some degree, that they have to divulge what data they have collected on you. And they are now being forced to do so. And this is happening as a result. I believe it was June of 2018, but it might have been June of 2017. I apologize, I don't have the correct date. But Europe passed new data privacy rules, and they are all housed under what is called the General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR. And because so many of these major online data hoarding companies exist in Europe also exist here, they were forced to adhere to this rule set that the Europeans pushed out here as well. And so right off the bat, some of the major players in this are Facebook, Google, Apple, Amazon, and there's quite a few others. And they basically what this means is my suggestion for you to how to figure this out, they do not make it intuitive, they do not make it simple, but they do make it available. You can Google, in quote, download my data space, whatever the heck you want to download. If you want to download Facebook, download my data Facebook. Download my data from Google, download my data from Apple, whatever. And what these companies are doing is they are making, it takes a little while for their servers to run and put together the amount of data that they've collected on you, but they are supposed to be legally bound to present to you all of the data that they have on file, that they have collected from you as a user for as long as you have been interacting with that company. Now, do we know if they give us everything? Who's going to know that, right? We don't have access to their servers. We can't go, searching through their stuff to confirm that. But, for example, I did, and I apologize, I wanted to do all of these and sift through all the data, but I'll give you an example of why I wasn't able to do that before we started recording this episode. My Google data that I had requested was over 4 gigs of information. I have not sifted through all of it. I heard Facebook, it has a lot. And I have actually read, because I haven't gotten back. Again, some of these take time for you to actually get your file ready. With Google, it was I submitted my information, and it was about 3 or 4 hours later. They said, "Okay, here's the download link, so that you can download multiple files that will amass over, I think it was 4.3 gigs for mine, the amount of data that we have on you."
And that was just your data that Google has on you?
Correct. So this is so when you, and so people think, you might think, what the hell are they filling up 4.3 gigs with? And I actually pay a lot of attention to what information I give these people, right? So my data should be lower than some people, but though I have had my Gmail account, I've been working with Google for, I don't know, probably like 10, 15 years. I have no idea. So they have probably been collecting on me for a long time.
So taking your Gmail into consideration, would that be all of your emails or just like your Google searches? What are we talking about?
Both of those. Here? Everything you watch on YouTube, every transaction. If you use Google, what's that? Google purchasing, where like it's by PayPal, except you can buy Google Express, I think it's called.
Okay.
Every map search, anything that you did that was probably either tied to your IP address or that you were signed into. So one of the nice convenient things when you go to google.com and you do an internet search, you see your little icon in the upper right-hand corner because you're signed into your Gmail account. It knows that. So that's convenient for you. So you can just log in and check. You can hop over to gmail.com, check your email, hop over to Google, do your search, hop over to Google Maps, do your whatever, go to Google Translate something. Think of all the services. I don't even use Google Office, but think of all the papers you've written or the spreadsheets you've viewed or all of that stuff. Excuse me, every single bit of that. If you have an Android phone, forget it, man. Every single phone call, all this stuff is all collected.
So if you had an Android phone, all of your text messages that you deleted, pictures you shared back and forth, or might even just be on your phone, they would hold that data and could give it back to you?
They collect all of it. Well, and here's what I don't know yet because I haven't sifted through the files. Like if, say you take some pictures on your Android device, your new Samsung Galaxy, like, cool, man, I got a beautiful picture, and you deleted it, yet it was, let's say you saved it to your Google Drive, and maybe you delete it from your Google Drive. I haven't opened up that file to see if my pictures that were deleted are actually in there. I don't know exactly. And that's the unfortunate part is I wanted to have all that stuff sifted through, but after seeing how much it was, I don't even know if I would have had the time. That looks like it might take a while to go through. But the reason I wanted to start off with this is I wanted to encourage everyone, hey, go out there and ask for your data. They're required to give it to you now. And like I said, it's not super intuitive, but if you Google that, you will find articles that will show you. I found several through New York Times, Washington Post, instructions directly through Google, directly through Apple, directly through Facebook, and they will walk you through the process of getting your data so that you can see what is actually available out there. And we'll talk a little bit more about where the future is heading now that the companies are being forced to do this, but I just wanted to start off and make everyone aware that, go out there and see what these people have on you. And I can't remember if I said it or not or whatever, but I have read, again, I haven't opened mine yet, so I have read that Apple actually collects one of the companies that collects the least amount of data and keeps the least amount of data from you or of you. However, I also read that they actually store a lot of their analytical data on you and other stuff, information on you on your device, and they can pull it from there or process it there and then have them sent whatever it is they want from you. So I don't know if that makes them any better, but at least if it's on your device, you could take your iPhone out back and crunch it with a sledgehammer, and guess what? There goes the data. So I don't know. I haven't. Maybe we'll do a follow-up episode on this to talk about what we did find and some other practices that you can implement if you want to reduce this amount. But there's that. So as we consider what companies are doing with the data, and at least now they're being forced to divulge what information they have on you, there are some other kind of odd methodologies that they're taking to, I don't even know if you want to say assist the consumer or maybe kind of fight on our side a little bit, but Rick had this really interesting one that he found that I totally didn't see at all. Again, this topic is so vast. There were so many different ways to go with this, but tell them about the Facebook, what did you say, the Facebook nudies?
Yeah, so revenge porn is a problem for a lot of people, and so Facebook came up with a pilot idea that they launched in Australia in 2017, that you could send them your nude pictures that you were concerned about and that you didn't want to be released or uploaded through their whatever, and they would review the image, give it like a thumbprint, so that if someone tried to upload that or share it, I don't know if that includes Messenger or not, but it would recognize that thumbprint and delete it. But you still have to send them all your nudes.
So,
Right.
and for those that don't know, revenge porn would be like, man, I snapped these really cool nudies of this chick and she was hot or whatever, but then she took some embarrassing nude picture of you, uploaded it, and you're like, dude, that's messed up. So I'm gonna stick these pictures of her up.
Or she broke up with you, or whatever. You know,
Whatever.
maybe she rejected you and somebody else shared it with you.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I was reading in there is that they can circumvent this by by changing the image a little bit. So say all the pictures that I took of Ben that were naked, and he went and put them all, he sent them all to the
That's a
guys
whole
in
nother
Australia.
episode.
And I couldn't get any of them to go through to share to Glenn in his iMessage. All I'd have to do is draw like a little cat or something in the background, and it wouldn't pick up that thumbprint anymore. I'd altered it. So now Thomas gets it too.
It's gotta
So
be
now it's a complete different identity as
Yeah.
far as the image is concerned.
Yeah. But I mean, on a side note, so I tried it, and I sent it to some guy's Yahoo, and now I'm all over lolmicropenis.com. And it's just like, what the fuck?
I was just to say, you got to draw a cat in the background. You can't draw me like a 10-foot penis or something. Oh, that's funny.
That's
Totally
on top
kidding. I
of the
didn't
Empire
try
State
it,
Building or something.
Total sketched in dick.
Yeah. So
He's got these ginormous balls that don't even look like squirrel nuts.
we
Right.
already see that fingerprinting, so to speak, in all the facial recognition software that runs, like when you post pictures on Facebook or whatnot. I mean, when you post a picture up there, that instant tagging or suggested tagging that Facebook does, that's exactly what that crap is. That's a fingerprint, if you will, scan of people's faces. And I post a picture of a group shot of us or whatever, and Rick's in it. He's like, "Oh, I know that guy. You're friends with him. Can we suggest that you tag his name here?" I mean, they're already doing that in America, but apparently in China they're trying to help. And that's interesting too. That I thought they didn't allow. I thought it was very much censored in China for nudity and whatever. And here in Facebook in America, we can't post nudity at all.
So the study or the pilot project was in Australia.
I'm sorry, I don't know where I got
yeah,
China from. My
I
bad.
imagined that the Facebook rules are universal throughout the world. Nudity is out, independent on their cultural.
So with the
looseness on
fingerprinting, they would remove the picture. Not that they allow nudity at all, but they would specifically look for your nude pictures. That makes sense.
And
I
not
understood.
allow it to be uploaded. Now,
Okay.
I don't understand, because I had the same question, like, are people sharing this through the Facebook Messenger, and that's what they're blocking from being shared? Because if you
Maybe
post
both.
something, eventually somebody flags it,
Yeah.
or their bots pick it up
Yeah.
that it's nudity and they pull it.
Yep.
So I wasn't too sure how they were stopping revenge porn.
It
or
must be
just-
up on. It must be on the end. Yeah, it must be on the upload part. But you're right. If the nudity gets taken down anyway, I guess maybe to try and catch them before it slips through, and then all of a sudden all your friends and family have seen this, but yet they still took it down 2 hours later or whatever when they caught it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I already saved it to my drive.
That's right.
3 minutes ago.
That's
Yeah.
right. The minute I got the notification that so and so posted something, I saw a new pic. I saved it.
And some Aussie's got like 6 gigs of awesome pics in his spank bank.
Nice. Okay. So I wanted you to include that. Right? That's freaking. I did not see that at all, but that's great. Okay, let's talk about something else here. There's data security breaches that happen in companies via it be their servers that are connected to the internet or their websites. While we're on this topic of online privacy, I wanted to branch. It's going to branch a little bit into online security as well. We usually hear when a large company gets hacked, and you'll hear whatever the company is at 50,000 accounts where information was stolen, and you should change your passwords and whatever, and that kind of stuff. Coming from large, multi-billion-dollar corporations, they can afford to release that information on the ethical side of things and tell you, "Hey, man, all you people, your stuff got stolen. Change your passwords, and don't worry, we'll try and protect your credit card information or whatever." Right? Something to consider, though, is it's not like the only companies that are getting hacked and data is being stolen from are large, fancy corporations that can afford to fix the problem and or monitor the problem and be able to tell everybody this is what happened. All the small companies that you may or may not deal with, depending on what you personally buy online, so to speak, or it could be for other things too. It could be your local medical insurance. It could be your vision insurance. It could be a small company that you buy arts and crafts from. Anything that's not a large corporation. these companies don't necessarily more than likely don't have a budget at all for online or internet or their internet security. If they get hacked by somebody who knows what they're doing, that entity, that hacker, I hate using that term, but okay, that person who breached their data, their security, is in and out without even alerting anybody, which means they've got all your crap and nobody even knows. So that little company may not even know that they got hacked and lost all your information, and therefore can't tell you. Other side of the same coin, if you're a small company that depends entirely upon your online business, and you get hacked, and all of a sudden you have to tell all your clients or your customers, your consumers, hey guys, we're basically not safe. We don't know what happened. Change your passwords or whatever. How bad is that going to hurt your business? Because now these people feel like they can't trust you. So be it a moral or ethical dilemma, whatever, yes. However, if your company is going to suffer greatly from telling all your customers that you can't handle their security, are you really going to, it's going to come to your head, wait a minute, if I don't tell these people that, they'll keep shopping through me. If I do, I may lose a large portion of my clientele, and then my business will fail, and I will suffer from that, or we will suffer, depending on how many companies there are. So just because you only hear about the large corporations going out there and telling telling you about being hacked does not mean that all these other little ones, little smaller companies or whatever, aren't being hacked and your information isn't leaking out via those methods too. The other side of that same coin is even the big companies, if somebody's really good, they get into their system and they get out undetected, we're not going to know what they've stolen. Now, to add to that, it gets even creepier, is what happens to your data once it's stolen from these companies? I can't remember how I stumbled upon it. It was a few years ago. I found a forum. I honestly can't remember how I came to this forum either. But this was a forum that dealt with just specifically the trade and what to do with and helping other people figure out how to sift through the data of large databases that have been stolen from companies. I mean, it's out there. It was free. I saw things like, you remember that big, what was that one that would help people cheat on their husbands or whatever, cheat on their wives, or Ashley Madison.
Oh yeah, remember
Ashley
that got hacked.
Yes.
Yeah,
so when that got
was a
hacked,
big deal.
yeah, they pulled all that information off there, all those user accounts, whatever information they had on there. Now, okay, there's probably a lot of fake profile information on stuff like that, but guess what? What if Best Buy gets hacked? There's not a lot of fake information on Best Buy. People are buying and having stuff shipped to their house or whatever. Those things get hacked and those huge databases get downloaded. And now you've got a database of 100,000, 500,000. I don't know how many people are in these.
They get sold to Nigeria.
Some get sold, but also just like any other black market thing, it's data. It really is free. The guy the entity that did the work to steal the data maybe sold the first copy because he was paid. Maybe he or she was paid to do that work and pull that data, or maybe it was a contract or whatever to grab X number of data, whatever. So maybe that person got paid. But once it floats around enough, it gets to the point where it's free. So these people are transferring this data back and forth and allowing you to download this stuff to your own computer. And a lot of it's in much more advanced formats than you're not going to open up in your Excel. Well, maybe, but you're probably not going to open it up in your Excel spreadsheet.
Well, I would hope not.
Yeah, these are usually like large Oracle databases.
Google Ben's credit card number.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a little harder to sift through the data, but if you know what you're doing. Now that you have a nice fancy database, all maintained and whatever, and accurate and up to date and current and whatever, you have instantly 300,000 people that you can then do other things with, like create spam lists and start sending emails out like crazy, or you can actually sell. These people will sell themselves as a service. Hey, you company, you want to reach a whole bunch of clients in this demographic, or just spam a whole bunch of people. Whatever, you don't know what to do. You don't know how to do this. This is what I can offer you. I have a database of, I'm not going to tell you where the database is coming from. I'm not going to tell you what the clientele are, whatever. I have a database of 500,000 people that I believe majority are active and concurrent and up to date and real people or whatever. Tell me what you want me to advertise, pay me for it, and this is what I'll put together for you. So they create a service just based on free stolen information, and there's a lot of entities that do this. And make money off of it. Can make really good money off of it, depending on what company is interested in advertising to these people. And I mean, this is how email lists get
Yeah.
put together to advertise you penis enlargement emails.
Well, it
you
was
know, or-
in the modern day. Any information is super valuable, and we're transferring so much information. And we talked about this before, where 10 or 15 years ago, when you got online, somebody asked you for your home address or your phone number or anything like that. Everybody was dead set against it. But as we've gone on in generations, especially people who have grown up in places like Facebook and everything, they're used to sharing their information. So it's becoming easier and easier for people to get this stuff because it's being more freely given away.
Oh yeah, I mean we had our episode we did on social media, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like you said when we started, it was don't put anything about yourself on the internet.
Yeah.
Now it's put everything about yourself.
Don't even
on
use
the
your
internet.
real name.
Yeah, put everything about yourself on the internet because people will like you more.
Well,
you know?
and, like on Facebook, you can't even have an account without your real name.
Yeah, it's getting harder to switch your name up.
Yeah.
Yeah, total bullshit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've had several friends that were artists that had pages that were, whatever they went by as their art name, and they got emails that said, we're going to take this down. You can't have a fictitious name
Yep.
or anything.
I had that happen to me.
Did you really?
Yep.
Yeah.
I tried changing mine and they wouldn't let me. Yeah.
Unreal.
They don't. They want real people on there.
They
right?
want your
Which-
real information.
Yeah, and basically you're trusting that they really, and I'm sure that they have the top people in the country they can afford to pay for it, but that doesn't matter how good you are, people. That's just it. It doesn't matter how good or how secure anything is in this world. There is always somebody better, and there is always somebody that can get into it.
And the information is always worth getting.
That's right.
So there's always going to be a demand for it.
Yeah, can you
because people
imagine
need that
what
information.
100 terabyte NAS filled with every single Facebook user in a massive database would be worth?
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you can get it, it's worth a lot of money, and more than that, the residual on that would be worth a lot too. It wouldn't just be a one-time bang. You could make a whole company based on that stupid database in ways you could sell it to other people. And I mean, yeah, just not, I know it probably goes without saying, but I mean, think about all the stuff that every time you buy something, I mean, at the very minimum, there's your name, address, phone number, credit card information, and that may not sound, I mean, yeah, okay, somebody steals your credit card, you'll just call your credit card company and, cancel the card or whatnot, but they got other information on you. Maybe the next time they can match your name and address to another credit card number that they find, or, I mean, it just the possibilities go on.
Well, how many people have also put their social security number on a job
right.
application, an online job application, or bank statements, or
Yeah, what
Yeah.
are some of those monster.com, right, is a helps you find jobs? Isn't that there's other ones?
Yeah, in a lot of big companies, you have a profile that you have to build as well. Or even if you buy a firearm, that's on your gross information.
Yep.
And that's just, I mean, I'm sure it's encrypted, but somebody knows how to get into that.
I mean, it may be. We're hoping. That's just it. We're hoping. There's so I've done a fair amount of web development in my time, and one of the things that really caught me off guard when I first started getting into it, and it was just very simple. I'm not any online security guru or anything like that, but when you handle someone's password, you can just save the password to the database file and match it every time they enter it in. And you can mask it behind asterisks or whatever, but that doesn't mean it's masked in the database. So us as the consumer, the end user, the client side, if we will, entering in our username and password to log into any website, we don't know what they're doing with our password on the other end. And developing code, I can tell you that there's no way to know what they're doing on the client side. But on the other end, what they're supposed to be doing is encrypting that password, which creates, and thus one of the ways, there's other ways, but anyway, one of the ways is to encrypt that password, create a hashtag of that password, which is a jumble of freaking characters. They don't know what the password is because every time you hit enter on your side of the computer, it jumbles that password up and saves, and and then it compares it with what they have in their database to see if that same jumbled mess matches the other jumbled mess that they've saved. That way they don't have your password in their database. However, if the website developer, the programmer who wrote that website doesn't know how to do that or doesn't want to do it for whatever reason, what's stored in their database is your actual password. So if they pull up your account and they're like, oh, you're at Great Distraction Podcast at gmail.com and your password is yada, 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 cool. Anybody gets that database or gets that file, spreadsheet, whatever it's stored in, however they store it, they can also take that email and start running around to other websites and see if maybe you use the same email and the same password for other things, like your Facebook, like your bank, whatever. A lot of people have a lot of problems. I mean, I think we all do. We have 80 accounts, and they're telling us you're supposed to use a different password for every single account. Okay. Well, that means I have to maintain a spreadsheet of all the damn passwords that I have to memorize, which means that there's a damn memorize.
I heard that
See
too.
where my head's at? That I have to memorize. That's probably stored on my computer. So if somebody can get it off my computer, now
They'll
they
just
have
hack it
all
off
my
of there.
damn passwords. So it's like once you go down this rabbit hole, it sucks. There's a very delicate balance between
So you need a handwritten note.
a handwritten. Okay, so I agree with you. That's cool as long as nobody steals it from you. Let's say you can put it in your safe and nobody's going to get in your safe. Okay, fine. What happens when you're at work and you need a password? You're like, damn it, I can't remember the password, and the only place that thing's stored is in my safe at home.
So you send a text with your safe combination to whoever can get into your house.
Nice.
And they text you your password
Yes. Right.
in a very unencrypted method.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now Apple or Android, Google has my password. Yes, that's where we. So this is not, we're not trying to. I have to agree with you. The more you're going to hear about this, the more. Well, how do you protect yourself? That's a good question. I don't know. But the important part, the important first part of answering that question is to first identify that there is an issue and something you should be protecting yourself from.
Yeah, and in looking into like online security, the first thing that all of these guys talk about is get a password manager. And I don't. A lot of these are free, so if it's free, I don't really trust it because what are they doing with all of your passwords to all of your important accounts?
I don't trust password managers, period.
But that's what these guys.
I know. I've heard them.
marketing themselves as these.
Well, you can sell anything as long as you have a good delivery. I mean,
Fear and
Yeah.
fear.
It's
this
all about
Fear's
the
a great
spiel.
one.
Yeah, this is
Good
playing
spiel.
off of fear mongering for sure. Yeah. So
my password manager is a notebook in my wallet.
there you go.
Mine's
So-
the same password for everything.
Babaloo875.
I like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3.
Nice.
I just do password 1, 2, 3.
password.
Password.
Just use password.
Fuck! Now I gotta change it.
That's my old school's passwords were all password.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay, so let's move along here. One of the other things I want to talk about, because this is a huge growing thing right now, especially in the consumer market, is Internet of Things devices, IoT devices. And I hate this name for it, but okay, that's what the industry coined and whatever. So what is an IoT device if you don't know what it is? You do know what it is. You just may not have known it was called an IoT device. Your internet-connected fridge with a fat display in it. Yes, those are cool.
Creepy.
Yeah, creepy but cool. But it's kind of cool to open your fridge every morning and see a pair of tits on the door. I mean, it's you can do these things.
I can do that with a magazine, a knife, and some tape.
MacGyver it.
Both methods are creepy.
Yes. Your coffee maker, that Wi-Fi connected lighting like Philips Hue or something, AC outlets that you can control with your phone, thermostats, garage door openers. I mean, all of these devices, and specifically the ones that connect via Wi-Fi. If you're into, for the more geeky out there like myself, if you're more into home automation stuff and you're doing Z-Wave, stuff like that has actually not been hacked and is super way more encrypted than simple Wi-Fi is. And anyway, a lot of these devices, the reason I bring up these devices is because first off, all of these devices collect a little bit of data about something about you. If it's a thermostat, well, it's actually probably recording and reporting how often you change your thermostat, what geographical location you're in, what temperature setting you choose. But more than that, or the light switches, if you got just the lights, all it does is turn on and off, right? But data that can be divulged from, that can be pulled from that type of device is things like, when are you home? How often are you home? Who all is home? If you have separate users set up. I mean, things like that. More data can be extracted from things that you may think are simple and meaningless than you might realize in the forefront. And so that's one side of something that can be a concern. The other side of this is that many of these IoT devices are, well, first of all, they exist on your network. They connect to your Wi-Fi. They are on your network. Everything else that is on your network is on that same network. So if you've got your computer where you do your taxes, or you've got, I don't know, your streaming device where you've got your nude pics of you and your girlfriend, or whatever you've got. Pictures
I already
of
sent
family.
those into Facebook.
Nice. For fingerprinting. Whatever you've got on your network, these things are also on your network. Now, many of the main, the big companies that may produce these, the Samsung or the Apple or whatever, they have gone through great lengths to implement into these devices security measures, hopefully. However, many of them have not. And it is a big deal right now with network security and internet security with IoT devices that are becoming the weakest link in the security of your personal Wi-Fi network in your home. So these things are being hacked, and through them, the data can be pulled and or gone onto your network through them and access everything else you've got in your network. It's just some of these companies that are producing these things, and I can tell you from personal experience working with some of the Wi-Fi chips that are available out there, or Raspberry Pi devices, or Arduino devices, whatever. There's all kinds of ways to create a product inexpensively for the home gamer, so to speak, and then turn it into a product, sell it to you, but not bother to spend any time or pay any attention to the security of it, because you're a little startup and you may or may not think that's a concern or care that that's a concern when you're trying to sell somebody the latest widget. So it's something to be considered, something to consider if you're purchasing devices that are like this. Who's making it? How much into security have they put and developed in their research and development? There is a way around it, and I do want to bring this up because some companies do handle it in a better manner. Everybody these days, I think, knows about Ring cameras.
What's that?
What's that? Okay. So for those that don't know,
Except for Glenn.
That's okay. There's a lot of people that probably don't, but I
figure it's a camera on a ring.
Ring is the name of the company.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Or like the Nest thermostats, or any of these big name companies. Ring cameras it's just a camera that connects to your Wi-Fi in your home, and you can monitor on your cell phone, and you can get alerts, and you can talk back. You can talk back to a speaker if it has a speaker. You can listen through a microphone if it has a microphone. Yada yada yada. Some of these devices, and that's considered an Internet of Things device, some of these devices actually communicate not directly from the device through your network, through your internet, to your phone. They connect from the device, through your network, through your internet, to the server that the company owns. Then when you want to get an alert or see the camera, you don't communicate directly through to your network. You communicate directly to the server that the company owns, and then you see whatever it is you're supposed to see, notification or whatnot.
So you're giving a company access to your network.
Here's the thing.
Third party.
You're giving a third party, you're actually not giving them anything, because what they're transmitting from your home is typically done through standard HTTP traffic. It could be encrypted traffic like SSL, depends on what port they use. It gets very technical to understand this stuff, but the point is so a lot of times offloading that information being sent to you or your family members, whatever it is, the image from your camera or setting your thermostat, a lot of times it's better if you don't know what you're doing about, like if you're not a network engineer, you're not going to learn how to do your own custom networking and thus implement your own security. A lot of times it's better to go with a company that offers a middleman service like that. However, a lot of times that middleman service has a monthly fee associated. Ring is one of those, for depending on what level you want. I don't know if Nest does, and there's a whole slew of other companies out there that do this. A lot of the common devices, too, that we'll get into next is like your Google Assistant, your Amazon Alexa, your Apple Siri, that Echo that you buy. Those services go via, I would imagine, secure SSL, or I'm sorry, secured encrypted lines out of your house to their servers, and then when you communicate it when you're outside of your house, you're going to their servers, and from their servers into your house. So the security is handled by that third-party entity. That's what I'm trying to get at here. And you can at least hope that they know what they're doing, and you got a better chance of it being secure, rather than the old method, or the simpler method is to open up ports in your router and allow traffic to go through yourself or anything else that can find those holes. That's very insecure. So if you're not going through a third-party entity, that's, I guess, my whole point behind bringing this up, you may be susceptible to ports on your router being opened up and allowed, and access being given to much more than just you.
And if someone got access, would they maintain access?
If you don't make any changes, yeah.
So let's say they were driving by in like a creepy van or something like that, and they got access to the cameras that you had set up in your living room, like your nanny cam or whatever, and then they left. They could continue to monitor that nanny cam wherever they are. They've essentially broken in and essentially installed their own camera into your house.
Potentially,
until you change it.
Potentially they could get in that way too. They can also just pull your WAN IP address, which is your IP address to the world, into the internet
Remotely.
They can remotely pull and look for ports open via that way. That's a little tougher, but yeah, driving around and finding ports open like that on people's Wi-Fi networks, sure, that's one option. That's a little harder because you have to actually physically drive by the place that's doing that. Your neighbors could be doing this too.
Yeah.
But yeah, any device that potentially, if they can get in to your network via whatever means, maybe they crack your Wi-Fi password, maybe they get in through an Internet of Things device, however they can get in, then yeah, every sensor, every microphone, every camera that you have installed in your house is potentially accessible. I mean, once you're in the network, I mean, at most, it's usually just a password to guess. You can brute force a password. It might take a long time, depends on how sophisticated a password you pick, and then they can, see whatever they want to see. It's just, it's stuff to think about, man. It's make your passwords tougher. Think about the company that you're purchasing from. Sometimes it's real tempting to buy, cheap Chinese crap off Amazon that looks like it does the same thing as something Apple makes or something Android or Samsung makes or whatever. It's not. A lot of times, they make shortcuts. They take shortcuts that you may not even understand can be taken in order to develop these products. So it's.
And often security builds a defense against an old method of getting in.
Sure.
Someone else will come along and create a better way
Yeah.
to circumvent the security that they have in place. So if you bought equipment in a year, it may not be as secure as you were sold that it was.
Unless it's updatable. And that's why a lot of times you want to buy something.
point.
And then if you buy something that a major manufacturer makes, they're going to be more likely to update firmware. They're going to be more likely to update software and keep up with, beefing up the security of that device. So that's another reason why you'd want to stay with more mainstream companies. You have a better chance of of staying safe with how they maintain their product.
And does this include like your personal, like on your network in your home, your WEP or your WPA like encryption?
That would be your Wi-Fi password, so to speak. And yes,
for your whole network in your home.
Yeah.
So that starts at your router and goes out, and that would include your Ring, correct?
Yeah, you'd have to give that password to your, say, Ring camera or whatever, and in order for it to log on to that Wi-Fi network. And then, and so it would need that, yes. And everyone should be using WPA2, I think is the latest. I can't remember if it's TPIK. If you stay with WPA2, you should be for your password to use for that. That encryption should be, I think, is about as good as we can do right now. There are a few more advanced options if you have a more advanced router. The thing is, though, is the majority of people are not using even their own managed routers anyway. They're using
whatever their server get, what they're if they're say AT&T or Comcast, whatever, they're just using what they give them.
That's right. And here's the problem: is unless you're going to go out and learn how to protect yourself, you've already lost the game.
Even though you didn't know there was a game to lose.
Didn't even know there was a game to lose. That is very much the point of the thing, too.
So this is like building one of those big security gates and leaving your windows open.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just most people don't even realize that little box that AT&T gives you, or Comcast or Cox or whoever the heck your internet service provider's ISP is. You don't know what kind of security they've taken to implement into that box. Hopefully they've done a lot, and a lot of times they just buy those boxes from other manufacturers and stick it in there, stick it in your house or whatever, and And a lot of times they cut off a lot of features that you might want to use. That's what you have to work with.
Yeah, we've already run into that problem, huh?
Oh man, here at the warehouse, this service here through what are we? This is AT&T here.
Yeah, this is AT&T.
It's just garbage.
I can't say enough bad things about them.
No, it's different too because this is considered a commercial location, so the service that we get as opposed to consumers is just horrible.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't want to go off on that tangent.
I will if you let me.
Yeah.
It's a different show.
It's a different show.
Yeah.
This is Thomas's anti show on them. We'll leave that one a bit. But that is a good thing because I mean I would consider myself a very average consumer when it comes to those sort of things, and having conversations and being friends with you. There's so many of the things I would never have known, and even when we were trying to set up the stuff in the studio here, trying to have access to the cameras and stuff, the CCTV cameras.
Yeah.
We couldn't have that because we couldn't get the IP address or something that wasn't shareable through the AT&T's router.
Yeah, real quick, I don't want to take too long to
I know.
discuss that, but basically the router that was there wouldn't allow us to set up a VPN server, which is a way to create a secure tunnel from your phone somewhere else in the world, say for example, into your home network.
But that's you creating that as another step of security for your own.
That's right. That's your
your own
secure
device.
way into your home network. These routers that they give them, some of them do. They allow a pass-through mode, and then you can set up a separate router to set up all that crap, or set up your own VPN server. Again, I don't want to get too technical with this stuff, but that was the problem. Is basically that box that they gave us here at the warehouse where we record here, did not give us the option to set up a VPN server so that we could tunnel in remotely and see the cameras that are in this video surveillance system that we've got set up here in the shop. But anyway, the other side of the same coin, Thomas also went out and bought a Ring camera, which he can see no problem because, again, that talks through the normal internet traffic out of the router to the Ring servers, and then we're able to go to the Ring servers and view everything. So it's kind of like we've enlisted a third party to handle serving up the files, which is the video, or serving up the video and the audio to take care of that for us. And that's fine, except usually that's very expensive. I mean, that fancy camera he's got out there was like $260.
Yeah, for the camera. If you run a single camera with them, it's $10 a year.
Okay,
sorry, $30 a year.
So you got $30 a year plus $260 to buy the camera.
Yep.
Whereas the video surveillance system, we've got each camera after you get the NVR and whatever. I mean, the cameras are like $60, and they're 4 megapixel over 1080p. You can get 4K cameras too. I mean, it's just way cheaper if you know what you're doing as opposed to paying somebody else. But then that's the price of
And I think that goes back into the consumer situation where a lot of people don't understand. It's just like me. I don't understand a lot of these security measures that you can go through that are fairly simple out there just because we're not informed. And I think a lot of these companies don't want us to really be informed.
They don't want you to be informed. They're making money off your ignorance.
Exactly. There's a lot for them to make off of that.
You pay for ignorance in this world in every way.
And for the typical consumer, it's intimidating to try to figure that out. So they're like, I'm just going to get the Ring, put it on there, and I'll watch my doorstep and make sure my Amazon boxes stay safe.
Yeah, and it's totally intimidating. I mean, there's no joke. Believe me, I'm not trying to make any misconception or portray that wrong. I spent a lot of time learning that, and yeah, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to.
It was. If I didn't know you, I would have been stuck dozens of times through that. And I think that's what the average consumer becomes in a situation.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of companies make money off of people. They prey on the ignorant. That's.
Or you don't have the time or the option or the ability to help.
Why ever you're ignorant? That doesn't. Whether that's the excuse, right? But they're still preying off of naiveness and ignorance and fear mongering. That's what a lot of companies prey off of, right? To make money. Let's keep moving here. The other thing, so I had mentioned already. I want to talk about these listening devices that so many people are inviting into their homes these days. This seems to be like a huge fad right now. I don't know how long. I imagine it'll stick around for quite some time, but it is extremely popular right now. And that is things like Google Assistant, Amazon Alexa, Apple Siri, those Echoes, those Google I can't remember, but the Google Home devices, the Apple HomePod.
Those have always creeped me out.
They creep me out too. And again, I want to reiterate, I don't want to go too far off in the tinfoil hat crap, because I talk to people online about this and I get that a lot, about the dude, go get your tinfoil hat, dude, you're going too far. Okay, fine. However, I believe that everyone should question these devices, and I'll give you some background on what I know about it and what I've found recently about it too. They are always listening. Now, supposedly, they only record and transmit after a keyword is spoken, whatever that is. I'm not going to say those words. You know what they are if you own one of these things, because actually if you're playing over speakers or whatever, it'll actually trigger these things to start listening and recording. Many different words can actually be heard by the microphones and interpreted as the trigger word, and that can cause them to start recording and then sending the data to wherever they need to send it, usually the servers for the company that owns it or whatever. But you may or may not know that you've triggered it, or maybe you didn't trigger it. Maybe a song you were playing triggered it, or somebody on the TV triggered it, or a podcast you're listening to triggered it, whatever. Either way, it gets triggered. When it gets triggered, like I said, it records and it sends its information off, and it's supposed to come back with whatever if you say, hey, tell me the weather, it's supposed to send that information off to whoever, Amazon or Google, and say, hey, get the weather, and then come back and announce to you, okay, the weather in your area is 63 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever. However, there have been plenty of examples with all of these devices wherein glitches in their software, firmware, whatever you want to call it, has caused them to do things like record 24 hours a day. It's happened to almost all of them. And of course, the companies jump on top of it real quick and they're like, oh, we're sorry, it's a mistake, we'll fix it. Great. That's the ones that they know about. And not to sound too paranoid, maybe, or too conspiracy theory here, maybe or maybe not, it wasn't a glitch. I mean, imagine if you could have every single one of these devices, and there's tens of millions of them out there now, all recording and sending data back to them, even if they let it run for an hour. Imagine how much information they would grab. Okay, maybe you don't even know how important that information could be. Maybe you don't care. Maybe it isn't anything important. I don't know. We'll go down that route.
If you just key it up so it only records during keywords and just make every word and
Yeah, but I mean,
Language,
I
keyword.
and not to go into a conspiracy theory, but one of my fears with that is, they can develop systems that pick up on different words and conversations, just like in emails, to keep, to track things like terrorism or whatever. So if there's some other entity that is involved with that and we don't know about it, it triggers a couple things or a conversation. All of a sudden, now you're identified as someone of interest by who or something. And I know that seems like a conspiracy theory, but if you're sharing information, you're sharing private conversations with a third party, which is what I feel like that is. I think that's a really slippery slope that we're falling down as far as private information. I don't want anybody, even everybody standing at this table, I don't really want you guys to hear what I say at home.
Yeah.
Why would you? It's my private
The
conversation.
privacy of your home, and
Absolutely.
you're by yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm saying anything crazy, but it's just, what we need as humans in this place, we need some solitude and some privacy to be,
Seriously.
We're losing that. These devices are losing that for us.
Definitely. We're giving it up, and we're paying money for it, too.
And we're
on top
paying
of that.
for it, yeah.
We're these devices are
Willingly shelling out cash so somebody else can judge me.
And they're getting cheaper and cheaper too. They're and that's one of the things that's really bothered me too. Is now I think those like Amazon Echo Dots, you can buy them in packs of 3 for like $60 or something. Like when they first came out, they were like $60 a piece. Now they're 3 of them for $60. I mean,
They want everyone to have it.
They want them in your home, and people
Sure.
should start asking themselves, wait a minute, why
Yeah,
is
why
it
do-
that
yeah.
they want these stupid things? in our homes?
circumventing the Constitution.
Yeah.
Well, that and Samsung's already been busted for enabling the microphones on their televisions.
Yes, and the cameras too. They were trying to put cameras in their televisions too. Some cameras have they look like your laptop, camera up there, and
Yeah.
and they can enable those
That's
too.
straight out of 1984.
Yes,
Conspiracy theory or not, but that was written
Right.
before the technology was even available to us. This is stupid.
Yeah, these things also have the same problem that the IoT devices have. They do have the potential for being hacked, and thus, if they are hacked, they have the potential for not only gaining access to your network, an outsider getting access to your network, but also to be monitoring whatever it is you're sending through this device. So, okay, fine. Maybe that's too conspiracy theory, whatever. Maybe it's too paranoid, but it is possible.
I
people.
think
That's
it's
the thing.
something we legitimately need to consider.
It's at least a conversation that we should be having about all these options.
Sure. Okay, so the other thing, too, is even if you're not worried about that, let's say it is safe to use these things, there is another side that really bothers me as an individual and how I look at companies and what they do to make money. Even if it's not some bad person hacking you and exploiting whatever you're talking about, you are giving away free marketing research. These devices are collecting all different types of information about you, from times you're home because you're using it, from what you like to eat because you're ordering your
Or
DoorDash.
saying it and this microphone's picking it up.
Yeah, or collecting, yeah. And just because it's only recording and transmitting information when you say its name or its keyword or whatever, doesn't mean it isn't collecting things on the same to generate statistics and analytics that then gets transmitted off later when it does communicate to the servers. If you're asking your Amazon device to turn on your TV and watch a TV show, it knows, believe me, that's being recorded. What TV show are you watching? What channel are you watching? What time are you watching? The other thing that a lot of people don't consider too is we connect, when people buy these things, they connect a lot of other services to them. For example, you buy your Amazon Echo and you connect your Facebook account to it. Well, let's say you happen to order some Tide laundry detergent on your Amazon Echo, because it's connected to Amazon, so Amazon can deliver it for you. How very convenient. You can buy things online through it. Nobody needs this, but okay, let's say you can't pick up your phone and do it or go to your computer and do it. Okay, fine. Let's say you're going to order this stuff because people are doing this crap. Then the next thing you know, you hop on your Facebook account or you're browsing somebody, you got a message on your Facebook, you're browsing up there, you see an ad for Tide. They connect these things together because now you have given the information over to a company who makes its money, who makes a lot of money off of selling advertising and selling marketing to companies. They know exactly what you've been asking for. So we're going to go ahead and show you an ad for it.
I see that already. If I buy something, I order something on my laptop, I'll see ads for it while I'm surfing the web on my iPhone.
That's right, and that's just because you're on the same browser, or you clicked an affiliate link that took through, and there's connections that can be made there. But now they just have to listen to you talk, and they can connect you to the proper advertisement that may be relative to you. And I don't like that crap at all, man.
I don't like it at all. I just want to go back to 1975.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Can I just go back to 1999?
Then you just be worried about
then you can party like it was 1999, right?
Forever.
Forever,
Ever and
exactly.
ever and ever.
Yeah, and there are options, but a lot of people don't know about them. For example, and I'm sorry, I don't have an Android phone, guys. Not that I'm anti-Android or anything, but actually all of us have iPhones in the group. We're not anti-Android. We just ended up a long time with iPhones or whatnot. On iPhones, and I'm pretty sure if you go to your Google account, you can do the same thing. There's a whole privacy settings portal where you can choose to limit the amount of ad tracking that they use on you. There is a setting in the iPhone as well, settings, privacy, I think it's in the privacy settings, where you can limit ad tracking. So that hopefully, you can at least limit some of the stuff that goes out there. And unless you like personalized ads, there's like 3 different options you can turn off in your iPhone to stop that. It's up to you. Again, maybe you don't care. My whole thing is, if you're going to take information from me, pay me for it. Why the hell am I giving it to you for free? So you
Or
can
at least
make
give
money
me
off of it?
discounts when I'm buying your crap.
Yeah,
You
also-
guys were talking about Tide earlier. Hey, here's a $1 off coupon.
Yeah, and believe me, I'm not getting any kickback. We're not getting any
No,
kickback
no.
from Tide.
We're
here.
not getting anything.
It's also a good way to know whether or not you are the client or the product. If you're getting something for free, you're not the client, you're the product. Yeah. So you download a free app on your phone, you get inundated with ads.
That is an amazing way to put that.
Right. Has anybody here ever read the policy agreements on anything connected to your electronics?
A few.
They're
and
kinda
they're scary.
crazy.
They're
very
called
crazy.
EULAs,
Yeah.
right?
And
In user license agreement. Or
Yeah.
in
And I've heard in doing research for the show, it's like experts in the field or whatever say that they'd sent it to attorneys, and the attorneys were still confused at what was going on in this 37-page user agreement. It's like, well, why does my chess app need access to my camera or my microphone?
Yep. As time has gone on, they've given us options at least to select more or less of that or whatever. But it's funny, the first thing when you brought that up, the first thing I thought of, did you guys ever see that South Park episode where they it's the Apple EULA, and it agrees that there is an agreement that they can sew your ass to somebody, your mouth to somebody else's ass and make you a human centipede. There was a whole episode dedicated to that.
Only those guys. Yeah.
Oh God, that's horrible.
That's quite a connection they made.
Human centipede to Apple EULA. I like it.
There's
That's nuts.
There's a metaphor to be made.
there's a book series that focuses around that directly.
Oh, wow. So there's another thing that can happen too with these listening devices, and there was a recent one that went viral with this situation, and I found this on I found an article on the Washington Post, but it was a viral event that was in all different types of news entities when it happened with the Amazon Echo. And basically, it recorded a conversation that nobody knew in the house that it had triggered. And it was sent to somebody in that users who own that Echo contact list, and I don't think it was anything particularly really bad, but it freaked them out because the person who received it was gave them a call and said, "You've been hacked. Somebody's sending in from your conversation to me right now. You got to shut that thing off or whatever." And when Amazon was approached by it, because again this got real big, and they did go up. Washington Post did reach out to Amazon as well as several other news entities. Amazon said, I'm going to read this here. Amazon said in an emailed statement to the Washington Post on Thursday afternoon that the Echo woke up when it heard a word that sounded like the word that triggers it. The subsequent conversation was heard as a send message request, at which point the word said aloud, to whom, at which point the background conversation was interpreted as a name in the customer's contact list. Okay, so what does that mean? They are not perfect at interpreting what they hear. They will do things based on what they think they hear, and there's not much you could do about it because these people didn't even know that this happened. Now, as far as I can tell, they were lucky enough that it was just a weird message and not, but what if it was something else? I mean, I don't use your imagination. It could be anything. What if it dialed 911 for you and you didn't even know? Is there an emergency? You didn't hear it say yes. It heard yes, and it goes ahead and does that. There's all kinds of instances.
Or you mention somebody's name and talk trash about them, and it calls them.
Bingo. I mean, that kind of stuff can definitely happen.
And
sends them a text message about.
Yeah, and that's that was one thing I thought about when I talked about these Echoes and stuff. I started thinking about if you can drive around and hack into a Wi-Fi or something like that. If somebody's got an Echo or something, why can't say it's a senator or somebody of some importance, and there's a reason for people to want to go out and hack access to this person's personal life so they can hear them to blackmail them or anything else. I mean, it seems like those are opening another whole door of.
Absolutely. And to those of you that go
With
ahead.
the Alexa thing, one of the funny memes that I see floating around about it is like back in the 50s, everyone was worried about the government of the Russians wiretapping your houses.
And now we're
we
putting in the
ask our
microphones.
wiretap for recipes.
Yeah, and if you
or
think
whatever.
if you think the U.S. government can't pull this information from these companies, think again. They can. So
All
if
they can do
you're-
is,
been
is
asleep.
file an order,
subpoena,
a subpoena.
and they have to turn it over. I mean, they've gotten Apple, who had the most secure OS period. They've gotten them to pry things open before and get information out that they wanted from somebody. Now, maybe that was a bad person; it was justified.
Or
Fine.
maybe it was just suspect.
Maybe it was just suspect.
And
That's
with
right.
the Patriot Act, we're all probably like 10 degrees separation from known terrorists, so they wouldn't even need a
Much-
warrant.
yeah.
They could listen in and make whatever connections that they wanted.
Yeah, make a
But now
judgment
we're-
based on conversation
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing my tinfoil hat again.
That's it. Yeah, I'm a big time conspiracy theorist too. And with some of these things that I can technologically find a way to do or see it possible, it's kind of like, wait a minute, I know how to do that at home or with
Well,
my own server. I'm not even that smart about this stuff. It's like I know other people can do it.
Well, and also with the Alexa too, it's like, how do they know how to pick up keywords? Sacramento's a pretty diverse area, so you have all kinds of people with different dialects.
Yeah, I'm with you
slang
there.
words.
Yeah.
I saw a funny video on YouTube.
If it's California version, it's going to have hella.
Or wanker if you're from the UK or
Right.
whatever, and you just happen to be living here. But
Yeah.
I saw a funny video on YouTube. These parents had asked their child to ask Alexa to play, I think it was a song from Frozen or whatever. But the kid didn't articulate the words very well and had kind of like a weird accent. So Alexa started responding with porn movies genres.
Nice. I like
Look it up. It's hilarious.
Dude, I can't even get the speaker on my phone when I'm trying to voice text messages to be correct.
That's beyond fucking frustrating.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, I've watched Rick try and use speech to text, and I've never seen anybody have such a hard
Almost
time with it. but
crashed my
it's
goddamn
awesome.
car.
It is great. It's safer for Rick to text and drive than
eyes
it,
closed.
yes, than it is to try and use his speech to text. It's awesome. It's something to behold. So for those of you out there that own these devices, if you just think, as far as I could tell, and people I've talked to, they've all had accidental triggers. Because usually these devices light up when they're like listening, like, oh, okay, I'm waiting for a command, so it lights up. Everybody's experienced accidental triggers. Well, those are the ones you noticed. Now imagine all the ones that you didn't notice and what may or may not have been done with whatever command it interpreted. And yeah, anyway, so to get off that, go ahead.
On the what did you call them? IoT
IoT devices, Internet things.
So I found a couple interesting stories about those. So one is the like My Fitness trackers and stuff like that. They have accidentally given away locations to secret bases, right? So there's 3 guys running in a square in the middle of the desert in Africa. What's going on here? Right? It's like, what? They're CIA guys exercising, and
That's
they're using
funny.
their MyFitness tracker, and it's uploaded and open for everyone to get a hold of. A funny one that I heard,
Wow.
a man and a woman were going through a divorce, and he was tasked with proving that his wife was cheating on him while he was away. He had gone into her Fitbit, and since they were on a joint account, he was able to figure out where she was at certain times. And she was, while he was out of town, going to the other side of town to visit a friend.
Did the heart rate go up?
And that's exactly it. Her heart rate would go up for like, I don't remember however long they said.
That's
but yeah,
hilarious.
So they were able to prove that she was cheating on him by her Fitbit.
That's wow.
And he
that's
had
awesome.
access to that information legally
because he was on the same account.
because he was on the
He
same
didn't
Yeah.
hack in or break into her account or anything.
Well, you can do that with lots of other things too. Like if people have a family plan on a phone or something, you can keep pretty good tabs on everybody's. If there's like an administrative person on an account.
So, but most people know that these.
well, yeah, because you're
We're used to that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
These new things that are coming about. A lot of people are not even thinking about what you could potentially do. Like,
Oh, no,
for
no,
example,
no.
many people have those Fitbit trackers or whatever, and
Yeah.
maybe you didn't think, dude, if you're cheating on your husband or whatever, and they've got access to your account, you really could get caught.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so I wanted to leave this topic.
So you're saying give all your new girlfriends Fitbits?
Yeah, that's right, dude. No, you just hook those magnetic GPS trackers into their cars and watch where they go.
Is that cheaper?
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but you'll really answer the question, right?
That's true.
It's encrypted.
It's encrypted. I wanted to leave this. We're going to go a little over here on this one, but the last section of this I wanted to talk about was what's being done and kind of moving forward. And And sad to say, depending on where you live, but the U.S. is very much behind on this. We are only beginning to take a look at a modernized approach to handling online security. And most of what they are doing is playing off of the GDPR, that the European one I mentioned at the beginning. So they're playing off of that, as well as far as I could tell, California is the only state in the United States that has made any effort towards this. And they created, in June of last year, I think, the Consumer Privacy Act of 2018. And why this hasn't been done in every state or made a federal deal, I don't know, but hopefully it will be soon, especially with California leading the way on yet another thing that should be changed in this country. It gives consumers the right to tell companies to divulge or delete their data. Now, this sounds just like the GDPR that we mentioned earlier. However, with this one, supposedly, we can tell them, delete all my data. We can also tell them, do not sell it. And apparently we can also ask them to tell us, why are you collecting it? And this gives obviously gives us a whole lot more power over what these companies are collecting and what they're doing with our data. Also built into that Privacy Act, I didn't look at the details of this, but apparently it makes it easier for consumers to sue companies after they have a data breach. Now, are Californians and Americans in general sue happy? Yes, of course we are. However, the good side of that is companies need to take this stuff super, super serious because they don't want to get sued. So now they have a bigger threat to concern themselves with when they start playing and collecting data that we aren't necessarily okay with them taking. For California, this goes into effect January 2020. That's apparently that date is stretched out to give companies time to comply with this new law. But yeah. So there's an example of the government stepping in to I guess you could say, fight on our behalf. But the other question, the other side of that same coin that I wanted to ask was, is that really their job?
Well, no one else is going to do it.
And
if we want them to do it.
Or, you're right, nobody else is, you're right. However, should we be stepping up and not giving the damn information in the first place, i.e. taking these stupid things out of our home, not using these services, not paying attention to what data we're relinquishing and all these apps and websites that we use? Is it our responsibility to learn and to understand what it is we're playing with?
Well, you could argue that, but look how many people are unable to understand a lot of the basics of how a lot of these things work.
I understand.
So is it a civil right or
right.
a constitutional right that your government should be able to help protect you against fraud?
But see, then I also hear all this anti-government stuff.
I'm not a big government person at all, but if we're going to do something to protect people's privacies, because the Patriot Act and everything, we've gone totally the other direction. So anything that we could go in a direction where we're saying, hey, let's regulate the way people can use us. We're not products, and that's what we're being sold as. I mean, look at all the information and everything. Just like Rick was saying, if you're, figure out if you're the product or because that's what we are. So if we're going to do that, if we can do anything to stop that, I would vote for that. But it can't be tied
passed
up
already
with,
for
yeah.
California. But as far as the federal government goes, anyway, the first thing I thought was like, I know a lot of people who are anti-government or whatnot, but it's like, well, a lot of time the way I feel about it is a lot of things that the government pushes out is basically saving people from themselves. They're not going to go out and learn how to protect their privacy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And the
so
thing
somebody's
is,
got to help them.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think if we can lobby that in as general society to help protect us, because we don't all have the options to do that.
Yeah.
There's lots of things in life that we can sit there and you can pass judgment to somebody and say, well, you should know how to do that on your own. Well, no, I don't know how to fix an engine just because you do. And somebody can say, oh, you should know how to do that on your own. Well, I can't build a computer just because you can.
True, but the government isn't stepping in to do those things for you.
I know, but when people are using that information and malice against us,
that's the other thing, questionably too.
Because there should be a law.
Is it in malice, like you say, or is it just being used for their own profit and gain?
Well, I think if you're being a company that's using it completely to profit, to use you in that direction as a profit, we need to start drawing a line at what we're willing to accept.
I agree, and they should be paying us for all that crap too. That's what really annoys me. Yeah, so that you had something to add there, Glenn?
Oh, yeah, well, just that they're using this information to try to influence our thoughts and behaviors with advertisements and what they're
because
look at
the conversations we've already had before about the way we're sold things and advertising things that we don't need. Now they're having a more mathematical approach to being extremely poignant at that.
Yeah, but I think we also have a generation of people that have never lived life protecting things like their face, their identity, or
That's
their
true. This
social
is a new
security
era.
number.
They don't even know what to
Yeah.
be what to be careful of,
And
cautious
even
of.
people like our age, our generation, many of them have gone over to the other side and just gave it all up. And
Yeah.
a few people like us are left that are still concerned about how this could go wrong.
They're raising our people to do that. I mean, who's pushing out? Give all your information to social media. The social media companies. Well, there you
For
go.
the advertisers,
Yeah. So I mean, they're raising people to think that's okay. And how would we need one generation for
Right.
religion to be built in?
Yeah.
Well, there
Yep.
you go.
Yeah, and
If you were born and it was in place, you don't question it.
right.
Yep. All right, everyone. We
Actually, I did have one more thing that I
Okay.
wanted to point out. So, as like the end line will be biometric locks on our devices, but I don't know if people are aware that if someone's tampering with your mail, that's a felony.
Oh yeah.
It's not if they get into your email.
That's what I'm saying. When we were
Right.
talking about laws and
Yeah.
sort of regulations.
So the laws get kind of tricky with your privacy there, right? So the biometric locks on our devices, your fingerprint or now the facial recognition, those are not held to the same standards as like if you had the key code to get into your phone. So for example, not that anybody has anything to hide here, but if a cop stopped you and wanted to get into your phone, he doesn't need your permission. He could use your thumbprint to open the phone for you and tell him what he needs to know, or put it up to your face. And the way this was laid out for me was that the password is your knowledge. They can't get that without going through due process. But your face and your thumbprint are public because they're out there all the time. So they don't need a warrant to hold your phone in front of your face. They just need to be patient enough to get it to work. And then they have access to your phone,
Wow. I had not
See,
thought
those
of
are
that
the
one.
lines that we need to.
right?
Establish.
Establish.
And yeah.
And they already
dig.
have your also too, what is on your phone. If you look on your screen, my thumbprint is all over that. I
they
don't
can
even
just-
need to
yeah, they
be
can just
there.
wipe it.
They can lift that. Your face, there's facial recognition technology out there already. They could probably pull your face off of another device and use that to unlock your phone without you
Maybe
being
even a
present.
photo.
Yeah, that one's debatable because the technology, at least in iPhones or whatever, is pretty advanced to work around that kind of stuff. But we can't speak for every phone on that one. But yeah, that stuff it's possible. But yeah, I understand what you're getting at though.
So it's like just a few steps away from all that Minority Report stuff going on.
Awesome.
Just a few steps.
I hope you guys are scared.
On that note, thank you everyone for listening. And remember, as always, question everything, and a little paranoia can be a good thing. We'll see you next time. Show notes and other info can be found at our website, greatdistraction.com. The Great Distraction is listed in iTunes, and we greatly appreciate it when our listeners take the time to look us up and leave us a 5-star rating and review. That helps our show grow and motivates us to continue producing content. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can do so using the email address, greatdistractionpodcast@gmail.com, or via our website. We're always interested in hearing any thoughts, comments, or questions from our listeners. Keeping up on the latest from us can be done in several different ways. You can add us to your favorite RSS feed tracker. The link is available on our website or in iTunes. Or you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Great Distraction, one word, no space. As always, thank you for listening, and thank you for all the support.